My claim to fame is that Symbol Twilight played at my 21st.
I didn't have big dreams of being a rock star. I just wanted to play music, and I actually loved the jazz scene for its intimacy.
Dana was saying like, you basically put her off being a full-time musician because she walked into your garage and just saw like...
Remember when it flooded?
The garage had flooded and she's like, it's too far.
A band, it's not supposed to last forever.
Don't stop the rock and don't stop the roll. You see the future, it makes me feel old. I see the holy, you see the ghost. You are the one thing that I love the most. I'm a believer, you see it clear. So close to freedom, still knowing the unmade for each other, not for another. I am your other, I am.
From the get-go, like from probably about 15 years old, I decided that music, that's what I want to do. And at the time, Hot Bay, just nothing going on there. I had this idea of America that I wanted to pursue, and I knew that I could grow there.
You guys made a bit of noise here, but I mean, you weren't a mainstream success in South Africa before you went.
Not to sound like we had ability to know this fully or see this, but we knew that the development of most bands here is the ceiling in our minds. Is it in the culture? Where does it actually lie? What is the ceiling? Where does it lie? It's a weird place. And we thought, let's try just bypass that. So the band, I think I, you know how you do this? I think we all have, well, you adjust your dreams according to your circumstances. So you think to yourself, well, we're a three-piece band. Let's look up three-piece bands. Let's understand how it works. Because you're studying life, you're studying how to get better. And then you find yourself 5 years down the line saying, like, oh yeah, the Police, I love the Police. But then you think, do I really love the Police? Did the Police really do that for me, or what? Did I learn to love the Police? So I realized, like, in Paris, like, actually what I love is like intimacy with people. Just like if you have somebody over for dinner at your house, you put on the music, you decide what's going to be on, you create the vibe, and you welcome them in, and you are setting the place up to make them feel as comfortable as possible so they can feel open and free. And that's what a show should be. Playing clubs in the States, festivals, clubs, it's wonderful, it's great, but you have no control over the environment. Especially when you're boozing like nuts and you're just kind of numb to everything. Probably the reason why I was numbing myself to everything was because this is not the environment I want to be in.
The long and the short of it was like you guys were the quintessential like touring band. You worked harder than everyone. You really worked hard. Yeah. But the interesting thing about you is that I would describe you guys as real artists. How do you make what you want without selling out completely? As an actual artist trying to exist in an industry that doesn't really like artists.
Right.
Or art.
Ironic, yeah.
There are very few labels, very few A&Rs who want the tougher song to sell, because easy kind of pop, party, like that stuff will always have a place. There's a tougher space and fewer artists who can tell a really hard narrative and have it still like make it on the charts.
Like, have you guys found that like you've been inspired by making art for business sake, art for art's sake?
I was blessed with an extreme naivety. It was after we signed the record label, and the guy who signed us was like this old school guy. He was the head of the label, and he just came out to a show of ours and he loved it. We did a showcase like a few days later, and the A&R guy basically said, you've got no songs on this record and you need to write. You need to get somebody to write songs for you, and you need to write songs, better songs. I looked at this guy and I was like, why should I listen to you? Yeah. And I thought, I don't know you. He was this short little guy that just looked terribly unhappy and really pissed off with the life. And for some reason we were very stubborn, and eventually they just left us alone. But they actually shelved us for like a year because they didn't really know what to do with us. You're dealing with a human nature thing, not an industry thing. And human nature will always be the same.
I think that's a great thing about like having the internet and YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music. It's so easy to access different creative outlets, and I've just been watching guys how they just create stuff. Like with no kind of external business pressure or anything. And that's what I've been trying to do. That's why like my new stuff is really different to my old stuff. It's just because I wanted to create something different. So like lately it hasn't been about the business, but then that does come into a factor when I present it to like the label or whatever, and the business, and they're like, how's this gonna work in a business sense?
I'm not saying like every song needs to be a lesson, you know, or be serious, or that kind of thing. But if we believe that music is a culture former, at what point should artists be held accountable for making society dumber?
I think the reality is songs are a place where we process emotion, and I think the danger of only a certain type of song is it doesn't allow for the full spectrum of life to be processed, and so you end up with a numbed reality, an alternate reality to the one people are living. You end up with half a narrative, half a story.
Well, it rings true. I mean, if you think, I don't know any bands that really sound like Civil. I mean, you really cultivate and maintain your own sound.
What's the difference of writing today versus a year ago? Do you feel a different sound coming out of you?
Yeah, definitely. But again, like, it's a terrifying thing. What do you, like, I found it so easy to write for a band. It was great. Way more terrifying to ask, what do I want to say as a person? Because when you're with the band, it's like, if you bring out an album and it doesn't do too well, people will say, it's a bummer, that didn't work out. And you're like, yeah, well, we tried. Yeah. We chose that song. So anyway, and you just take it all. When you're by yourself, you're the one making all the decisions. Stylistically, like, gone all over the place. Lyrically, all over the place. You know, you have those reactionary seasons, and then you have the absorbing seasons, and you have the hopeful, joyful seasons, which sometimes are more boring than... Life is great, but the songs are like, what? As an artist, I strongly believe that we're not supposed to present what we think is our best. We're supposed to present our progression, our story. Even if that means that sometimes you've made a record and you don't feel it's like your best work, it's important for you to put it out. You're honoring people by saying, I'm leaving it in your hands. I'm not gonna judge this thing and make a call and hold back whatever this may be to you because I feel funny about it. Sure. And so I think because of that, it's become less precious to me. Wow. And so therefore, like, way more free. Yeah. You know, it allows you to do anything. You can just say whatever's on your mind. That's what art is, whatever you feel. As soon as we think it's not, then we make it hard for ourselves. It's supposed to be easy.
I think if it was a trade-off, be in this beautiful space, it's like, it feels good. Like, you emotionally feel good there, spiritually you feel good there, but the only catch is you literally have like an interface and like bad microphones. I choose that over like, dude, it's this amazing studio. It's completely like, it's on lock, and there's like all the gear you could want. There's no windows though. Environment.
Every time.
Yeah.
Really?
Every single time. What I've realized is you guys create a really positive environment to record. You know, you probably could sit in that asylum room with like just no energy outside of the room, but you guys seem to understand how to turn the room into a safe place.
It's like, I get to be here with this person and I get to be a part of this experience and completely remove yourself from the equation, like going like, man, I really want this person to succeed.
The minute they walk in, that is part of that creative process.
Oh man, in such a huge way.
That like atmosphere and the build up to the actual playing, the setup. Often that is the most important, and the take is like, that happened like once and it was perfect. Whereas the other one, rush quickly, because we need to get going now. The fine line there, of course you can dawdle for like days doing nothing.
It's these things that are shaping a lot of the song, and it's especially when you're working directly with the artist. Their emotional and spiritual well-being is paramount, and if that is not the thing that you are prioritizing, then it's nothing.
So yeah, like you step into this environment and there's already such a sense of family. There's no need to adjust to anything.
One of the best ways I can explain it is like it's been a really safe environment to create music in. It doesn't feel like people are competing for space. There's no egos in the room, and it's quite a conducive environment where you can feel like you can be vulnerable, because that's kind of what the music is. Right?
Yeah. I mean, Micah and Rusty they're such good people to work with. And like they made me so comfortable as well. Like to just play.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about it. It's like, for him this was so refreshing because no one's got a mammoth agenda where everyone's able to everyone's an equal, everyone's able to share, and everyone's working for the sake of one thing.
The name Echoes is probably the worst name for a studio ever, because it's the very thing you don't want in a recording studio. That was me looking at where does your voice reverberate through the hallways of society, not just for me, but how can I kind of create a network or facilitate a bunch of musicians, guys who are passionate about music, to actually, if they've got something good to say, how can we get that voice out into society to make a difference?
Sometimes our biggest fear as artists is just sharing music first place and then putting it out to the world. We deal with so many insecurities on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it's all so internal. And all the world wants to hear is us. Like, want to hear us. We want to hear each other. We want to talk. I remember Dan actually telling me. He was like, "Bro, you see, you have to realize that you came here with nothing. You're competing with kids that have had keys handed to them when they're 15 to drive a van, and they know the ins and outs of this culture that you know nothing about. So just take it easy." The discovery of music, when it opened up to us, it was a very sacred, beautiful thing. It was like something that was very precious and mysterious and secret that was revealed to us. I'm just trying to protect that as much as possible. It all becomes one big landscape, and you don't really. If you go through that entire landscape without maintaining a love of music, then you've probably, it's pointless, really.
But I didn't have any idea that we would actually be able to come back and do shows. Like, I didn't think that was even a possibility. It was kind of like a heartbreak as well to think that this could be saying goodbye to Cape Town and family here and going over there was a severe severing, because it felt like we most likely won't be able to come back and do stuff here. When that did happen, we didn't see that coming at all. It was pretty amazing. It was the best thing I've ever done. We had nothing. You're young, you're single. We wanted the adventure. Down for anything. Because how bad Cape Town? It stayed the same. It's still there. Pretty as ever. My family's still in the same house. If I'm really dive into my memory now, it feels like it was yesterday. I had an immense imagination about what could happen. So every corner, everything could be something, anything could be something, anybody could be something. We were terribly excited about that possibility, that you do a show and anything can happen. You're treasure hunting for that, in a way. We just bummed around. We didn't, every time we moved, it wasn't because it was responsible, thank you very much for having us, guys. We were just these little pups wandering around, and people would have to go, okay, it's time for you to move now. It's time for you to get, I gotta get back to life now. Get out of my house. Okay. And then we would just do shows. Rich was still needing a visa because Andrew and I were sorted. And whenever he went away, he would have to be gone for a certain amount of months in order to get back into the country on his Dutch passport. So as soon as he arrived, we would literally pick him up from the airport and then the gig's, we gotta get straight to the gig. We book some gig, and then we play a lot. We play twice a week sometimes, which was a lot for us back then. Yeah. For a band that's got nothing going on, Yeah, and we'd play out and we start to get something going, a little thing, and then you'd have to go.
Do you think that the effect of that, the momentum effect, do you think you could have broken quicker?
Definitely. And not to say that Rich was his situation was holding us back, but that was immensely handicapping for us. We didn't really realize at the time. It was all for one for all, It was there was no way we were gonna get somebody else. It was part of the process. We were all about the live show. We were all about making that as spectacular as possible. We would drive anywhere, do anything to play a show. We were just pumped, and bands weren't doing that, So if we got an opportunity to play at a radio station in Scooby-Doo, Mississippi or something, we're rolling there and with all our gear and set up and do in the tiniest studios and just play our guts out, you know? And people, Americans are just like, whoa. It was really just that over and over again. And I don't know where we got the energy. I think we just realized that, for me especially, I was like, there's nothing else I'm gonna do. What am I supposed to do? Like, I love this, I absolutely love it. But you can't keep that up. When you're constantly doing that in order to prove something to yourself and to people, eventually it gets really exhausting. We have to weigh in the fact that a band is a very unnatural thing. It's a treehouse gang. Think about bands, it's like guys their age, they look like them, similar interests, they all chew the same gum. There's something about, so like, okay, now we feel like we're in. And it's that basic. And then when you get older, you've now presented this gang to the world and they've accepted, and they don't want that to disappear. And then you grow up and become adults and you have different lives. You either have to decide to disband and go your separate ways, or you shake hands and say, this thing, even though I hate your guts, or even though I don't want to see you anymore, for whatever reason, let's just serve the brand, you know? And we couldn't do that. Because I still love the guys very much. So for us, it was just realizing that it just run its course. And we're thinking there was something that we'd done wrong, something that we didn't get, a plateau we didn't reach, something. It's just life. You just move on from things. Yeah, a gang, a band, it's not supposed to last forever. When you think about when the first rock bands first arrived on the scene, you know, the Beatles, they could only do 7 years. The idea of a band lasting for generations and generations, that's not the standard. The Rolling Stones, trust me, they're serving the brand. They now exist in their own realm. We weren't there. So everyone around us, all the bands in our circle, were always trying to get there, but nobody really knows how to get there. It's a mysterious thing. You have no control of it. And you don't really know why you want it. You just are told almost by culture that that's what the next thing is. So you're playing in front of 200 people at a club, that should be good enough. But everyone's telling you, so what's the next thing? Where are you gonna, we need to expand this. You guys are still got more. If you don't see that happening in front of you, over the years and years and years of pouring your guts out, eventually you just hit a wall.
Having experienced that, you actually aren't autonomous in any way. You don't take a holiday without checking with the guys. There has to be consensus around your creation, and it ends, and then all of a sudden, first time in 10 years, you can go, what would I like to do? And there's the potential of an identity crisis because you haven't had the opportunity to build one until this point.
And that takes a minute. I'm still in the process of it. Music was something I decided very young that what I was always going to do. Whether I had to do another job or something, I don't really care. So for me, it was like the transition was easier in that sense because the other guys, I think they had more desire to do other things. But we all had to work through that identity thing. And then you have to ask yourself the question, well, what do I want? And that question becomes terrifying. When you're a kid, you know, I go take a kid to the ice cream store and say, what do you want? I want chocolate and I want, you know, whatever. Yeah. Straight up. When you're in a band, it's like, you're at the ice cream store. What do you guys want? Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? You get huddled in. What do you guys think? Oh, what ice cream? I like chocolate, but we should actually. Everyone's saying we should really try that butterscotch. So we should throw that. No, we shouldn't do what other people just do. No, and then you end up with like this weird cone, and then you get used to the weird cone. The way we were touring, it involved naturally the bar scene. You're doing a lot of clubs. There's a lot of, it's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll because there's not any really sex or anything. There's not really a lot of drugs. People can't afford drugs. I loved it when I first dived in. The fact that I can get pissed drunk and do shows night after night. It's like Kid in a Candy Store, you know? So like you go for it and you do, and you find it actually just loosens you up and people are perfectly fine with it. It's acceptable. And I just loved it. I don't regret any of that. But for me, like the booze got more and more in private life and it's not like I had some big problems, a big trauma or something. It was basically just like chemical imbalance in my body after like 10 years of doing that.
Did it all just culminate was it like a perfect storm where everything just kind of culminated?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Within the month, we sat down as a band and decided and then we finished a tour. I'd been married for a year and then I had like 2 seizures in a row from alcohol withdrawal. And then the label blew up too. It like imploded. So it all happened within that tiny little span. You know when the world's falling around you and you're just smiling because you know there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. I love when that happens in life where it's like, you just, And the whole thing, everything you've built just, there's a sense of like, oh, here is like such, happening right now in front of my eyes. It's such proof that I have no control.
Do you think that it's part of why artists are literally dying? Because the art itself is poisoning them? The stuff that the artists would want to really be known for gets shelved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's like this thing that you create that is meant to bring you so much life is actually the poison?
You don't want to spend every night of every week in a club that smells like puke and making these poor people stay up till 11 to watch you play. And you look at them, they're tired, but they wanna be there for you. You know, and they get stoked about it because then the show ends and like, crap, I gotta go to work tomorrow or something. I'm gonna drive now out of the city, go back to my nice house after being in this horrible environment. But I'll sacrifice it for my band because I love these guys. It's like, no, we should be catering to them, you know?
Yes, totally.
Should be going to them, like, we're artists. Artists are servants. We're observers. We're not supposed to be lifted up. We're supposed to be slowly shaping the world that people live in. The art's supposed to do that, not us. All the artists involved, equally phenomenal, glowing, wonderful, beautiful people to be around. But I would want to say this. I grew up, like I said, not a lot of musicians around me, not a lot of music support like this. I had one or two guys in my life that were the rich sealers, and I would not be anywhere without people like that.
Music's obviously still important, right? Like if it means getting together and making music, we're making a song. A lot of us will feel like it's cheap and hard and all that kind of stuff, but it is still important, right? It's like, you know, why do you reckon you've done this? I mean, you've obviously, I've known you for a long time, and you place huge value on music. Like it's part of your heritage. It's how you've raised your kids on music. They've got a healthy appetite of good music every morning in the car. You're up to date with what's going on, and you've got a high value for music in itself and musicians.
I personally just want to just give him props because he's like vital to it. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of faith and a lot of love. I just want to see it happen because I just love it so much. And Rich is like that.
This collective is actually like a little bit of a payoff for some of the years that he's done prior. You know, it's like there's a sense of like he's actually in some of the blood flow that's actually got to this point where I think we'll only see the effect of this in 5 years. We want to like honor the past, like influence the present, and then proclaim the future.
I think collaboration, not just amongst creatives, but amongst people. I think only through collaboration can those who want to do good to society really do good that counts.
You like learn so much about life and about community and each other and how to get along and serve, you know. I would suggest to anybody start a band. Yeah, well worth it. It's just so fun, yeah.